Hi everyone, it is now November 1, 2019. Time is flying by. We're almost at the end of the year. Yeah, aren't you looking forward to 2020? Which is going to be one hell of a year. I have no doubt. Okay, so fire updates, California. Maria fire. Here it is. Here it is. Avocados, citrus fruits. There's going to be less, and they will be more expensive because this fire is burning up the avocado and citrus farms in this area. I will link below to everything. I'm going to get into a little bit of weather modification. Evidence that yes, man is controlling weather. The latest update on this fire, no, you still have 24 hours of, well, fire. Will it grow? Will it explode? It's interesting reading articles. Explode is a word you come across a lot. Exploding fires. Okay, this is a aerial footage, but I did come across other aerial footage, and I find it odd that these fires, which is the Maria fire, one fire, they seem to be well in a line. And was it flying embers? An ember flew all the way down here and then all the way down here. So there are several fires. I'm going to get to an article that said there were 300 fires in the past 7 days in California. 300 fires. The red is the fire retardant that, yeah, has been dumped on citrus and avocados. Will they just wash it off and sell it? Perhaps. So you can, I'm not sure how long ago, streamed live 2 hours ago. So I've had this page open for at least an hour. 3 hours ago. Here's a Twitter page on the Maria fire. And here is the latest update, which came in at 6 p.m. California time. Let's just listen to a little bit of, this is the Ventura County Fire Chief.
With us on this incident, we'd also like to recognize the partnership with Cal, OES, and our ability to pre-position resources. Today was a day of challenges. The fire is still just under 9,000 acres. We have 1,300 firefighters protecting our community here, and these firefighters are from out California and throughout the western United States. We would like to thank all of our professional firefighters out there for treating our community just as though it's yours. Again, it was a challenge today. There was some progress made, and then a lot of challenges in the Santa Paula area and a variety of areas. My message is this today, is that there is still cause for caution and concern. We are not out of the woods yet. We still have at least 24 hours of critical fire weather ahead of us. Again, we need the community to be prepared. Pay attention to the media. Please pay attention to the social media and all of the alerting methods that are out there. And please, if we ask you to evacuate or go, please make sure you do so expediently.
All right. Oh, boy. All right, I just want to read a little bit of this patent, Surface Modification Control, Stations and Methods in a Globally Distributed Array for Dynamically Adjusting the Atmospheric terrestrial, and oceanic properties. What is this? Well, the control stations modify the humidity. Oh my God. Man can actually make an area dry or wet. Yes. Humidity, when you hear dry conditions, man can control the humidity in regions. Oh, winds? Man can control winds. And I will also get to some maps and show you that it seems that California is really the state that is experiencing climate change when no other state is. Well, yes, other states are. The extreme weather, the flash flooding and all that, but so many people are linking these fires to climate change, but it does seem that California, climate change seems to be happening in your state a lot more than any other state. And it seems to happen in the same areas in California, like, the Santa Rosa area, and now Riverside and Ventura counties and LA. Doesn't that beg questions? Why is climate change creating these fires in California and they don't seem to be creating with the same kind of repetition in other states? So, yes, man can control wind flows, heat removal rate of the surface, and facilitate cooling and control of large area of global surface temperatures. So you had a heat wave. You were at, 95 degrees in some places in California in, the last few weeks of October. It's not climate change or global warming. It is man controlling your temperature. You're dry, man controlling the dryness. The wind, man controlling it. The drought, man controlling it. This global system is made of arrays of multiple subsystems that monitor climate and act locally on weather with dynamically generated local forcing and perturbations for guiding in a controlled manner, aim at long-term modifications. It can have pumps for seawater to move ocean water, either amplifying or changing the currents in various locations. Think about those storm surges. And at different depths, in addition, it will have machineries for changing the vertical depth profile of the ocean of temperature, salinity, and currents. Control stations will also directly use devices such as heat pumps to change the temperatures of local water, either at surface or at controlled depths, or modify the humidity and salinity to change the atmospheric and oceanic properties as desired. The system will work in a globally coordinated manner, applying artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms. Artificial intelligence is already operating to control our weather. And it ain't bringing us good weather. These systems are used to reduce the temperatures of coral reefs, Arctic glaciers, and South Pacific to control the El Nino oscillations. All right, how about this one? Let's see. The good old, infamous method and apparatus for altering a region in the Earth's atmosphere, ionosphere, and or magnetosphere. The region is excited by electron, cyclotron resonance, heating, to thereby increase its charged particle density. In one embodiment, circularly polarized electromagnetic radiation is transmitted upward, Doppler radar, in a direction substantially parallel to and along a field line which extends through the region of plasma to be altered. The radiation is transmitted at a frequency which excites electron, cyclotron, resonance to heat and accelerate the charged particles. This increase in energy can cause ionization of neutral particles, which are then absorbed as part of the region, thereby increasing the charged particle density of the region, thereby altering the atmosphere. So, let's see, what these fires, when we think of the fires, we don't really think about what is happening to the individuals there. There has been chaos. There has been so many Californians just in the last week or 2 weeks that have had their lives turned upside down. And this is just an evacuation center where, fortunately, they were able to take their pets.
Woke up at around 4:30 this morning to news that we suddenly needed to evacuate, and so it was just trying to get all of our animals and all of our stuff loaded up and trying to figure out where to go. Didn't really have a plan.
But to think of it coming through Healdsburg and Windsor and into Santa Rosa, that's a little like overwhelming and scary, you know, that it could be that big. You don't want it to be that big. So I hope they're just being overly cautious and evacuating a lot of people, and nothing's gonna happen, you know. That's what I hope.
Camera shot. Kind of like our master. Well, we had a mandatory morning, and we head over here for our experience 2 years ago. We were evacuated here because we have the pet. It's a good place for animals.
A 47-year-old parrot, a dog that's 16, and a cat that's 16, a Maine Coon. I got no warning whatsoever that time, so this time I wasn't going to stay around. I'm responsible for my pets, and I wasn't going to subject all of us to burning up.
Very much.
So much disturbance in people's lives. And when we all know that this is deliberate, that this is being brought about by man, this is not natural. These are not natural fires. It's hard to take. Now, I look at these videos and the pictures, and it looks like, you know, some Christmas lights have been used to decorate an entire area. I don't recall ever seeing fires with the embers aglow and they just don't go out. So no, I'm sorry, I haven't done the research on nanotechnology in regards to fires, but I think others have. Plain Truth for You, Mike Morales, Jim Lee, I believe. So the latest on the Kincaid fire, 77,758 acres, 68% contained. Maria fire, 8,730 acres. Easy fire, 1,860 acres, 80% contained. Getty fire, 66% contained. 46 fire, 70% contained. Hillside fire, 50% contained. PG&E has restored power to essentially all of the roughly 1.1 million homes and businesses it cut power to on Saturday and Tuesday in an effort to prevent new blazes. But more to come, guys. You guys out there, more to come. What about Southern California Edison, San Diego Gas and Electric? Have they restored power? Well, in some areas, but not all. I do find it interesting that California, here, this is the current large incidents, November 1, this is the USDA Forest Service, a map of fires, and yeah, Southern California, Northern California, you guys have been having fires in the same area, and your government officials claim it's climate change. All right, so you have some fires in Utah, Colorado, Arizona. There are fires in Oregon. But what is it about California that experiences the most devastating fires over and over again, and many of the same areas have been hit over and over, repeatedly? Why is this not happening in other areas? We've got drought going here in South Carolina and Georgia, in other states, and, well, dry conditions, wind, but these fires aren't breaking out. So if it's climate change, fires would be breaking out in other states, not just California. Just the power outages alone are causing a whole lot of damage, inconvenience, disturbance to people's lives.
Giacomo Luca in Nevada City, where businesses have been in the dark for days, and now they're calling on government leaders to take action.
And we have rolling blackouts. We have businesses who've lost, I mean, what did he say, $60,000, and he's going to get reimbursed $250. In my mind, that's a joke.
Senator Brian Daly represents Sierra Nevada communities. He stood outside a local grocery store in Nevada City that's been without power for days. The president of California Organics has lost tens of thousands of dollars in product and even more in revenue. Joined by Nevada City leaders and local business owners, the state senator is now asking Governor Gavin Newsom to call a special session of the state legislature. He wants lawmakers to fast-track efforts to regulate utility companies and prevent large-scale blackouts. He also thinks reforms are needed in the state commission tasked with regulating utilities.
Number one, I think we need to have the PUC be an elected board so they're held accountable.
He also wants PG&E to help customers who have been impacted by recent power shutoffs and thinks the state should step in to help people from losing their homeowners insurance. He wants that special session so lawmakers can get to work now instead of waiting until they're due back in January. Given the recent unprecedented planned power outages, he's calling for measures out of the ordinary.
Well,
I'm Giacomo.
I also just saw an article about Newsom, the state of California taking over PG&E. I didn't have time to read the article, but yeah, we're government and we're here to help you. Well, I got a comment from somebody who did not understand or had not seen my very many videos on California fires for years, my videos on PG&E, how they're playing the fall guy, taking responsibility, my videos on how Governor Brown and PG&E were working to just hand money back and forth from government to PG&E. And guess who paid the California taxpayer? The state of California fining PG&E? Really? Well, look, PG&E is a company that engages in weather modification. Why don't they just create rain to put out the fires? And that's easily researched, PG&E weather modification. But the raising of the taxes so that PG&E wouldn't go under and you would still have electricity, you're always threatened, and then fining PG&E. I could foresee the fine not being collected, or the fine being handed over and then used to implement Agenda 2030 in California. And yes, PG&E is owned by Rothschild, but who controls Rothschild? The Vatican. All right, well, that's another video. But there are private firefighters, so if you can afford $25,000, like Kim Kardashian West, who had her home saved in Los Angeles, fees can reach as high as $25,000 per day for a dedicated manned truck at your personal property, a luxury only the elite can enjoy. You know, the elite can pay private firefighters. The elite can pay security guards that have guns. But it's the non-elite, you know, those like 95%, that now so many of them can barely afford a $500 emergency. So when you look at homes being burned down, you look at insurance being canceled or insurance skyrocketing, how do people rebuild when they don't have the money? Oh, they have insurance. Don't you know that insurance plays games with those they have policies with? And very often, nobody is made whole. So what happens to people that don't have money? Many become homeless. And most do not have money anymore. But then when you think of standards, the safety standards, the building codes, all changing when people have to get the permits and they have to build within those new codes now, all of it costs more. And, you know, California is the highest taxed state, isn't it? Your licenses and the fees just to drive a car, it's phenomenal. So they're squeezing you every which way. And I'm saying all of this because I get the comments from people, well, they have insurance, they can rebuild. Like, oh, no problem. Or those comments where people are saying, leave, get out of California. You know, people think it's easy to move. Why do people think this? Because they have that thinking that tells them their experience is everybody's experience. And those comments come from people, probably, who can easily move. But moving Well, forget about the emotional attachments that you have, the roots that you have, but it costs a lot of money to move. California fires and outages put seniors with disabilities lives at risk. 82-year-old man was stuck in a powerless wheelchair for 36 hours, and an 84-year-old woman was up all night without a machine to keep her heart working. Okay, Geyserville. Electricity cut for 3 days. Very scary. I was trying to keep myself awake so I don't fall asleep and my heart stops functioning. There's an awful lot of people who don't just rely on electricity because it's a nice convenience. There's a lot of people who need that electricity. And many people aren't even being warned that the electricity is going to be shut off. See, when this kind of stuff happens, you know that a whole lot of people are being hurt by it. Seniors at California Complex abandoned during blackout. Abandoned? Abandoned. At least 20 seniors with wheelchairs and walkers were essentially trapped in the dark in a low-income apartment complex in Northern California during a 2-day power shutoff aimed at warding off wildfires. So this is the villas where it was three apartment buildings in this complex. They had no guidance from their property management company. The utility behind the blackout, they weren't told of anything. These seniors are facing pitch black stairwells and hallways and elevators that shut down, and they were in the dark. Obviously, blackouts are more challenging for older and disabled residents who lack the transportation and money to run out for ice and groceries and maybe candles or flashlights. About a third of the villa's 140 residents are too old, sick, or cognitively impaired to care for themselves during an extended outage, and the property management company, VPM, abandoned the tenants. Some expected they would be communicated with, but they never heard from anybody. VPM Management of Irvine, landlord Affordable Housing Access of Newport Beach, and the on-site manager did not respond to requests for comment. So apartments were without heat, electric stoves didn't work, obviously. Pretty disconcerting for the seniors who were fairly unprepared or having difficulty orienting at nighttime. How do you do this to people? I don't get it. But the same areas of California keep catching on fire. Why is that? Climate change. Really? Well, other areas would be catching on fire as well. What about limits on home building? Limits on home building. So the New York or the LA Times. LA Times had UC Berkeley Institute of Governmental Studies to take a poll, and that poll showed 3/4 of Californians on both sides, the left, the right, Republican, Democrat, voters, they believe the state should restrain home building in areas at high risk of wildfires. That's where this is going. Now, of course, Gavin Newsom comes out and says, oh, no, I don't advocate for that. In fact, California, its rural areas, its wild and pioneering spirit, the wilderness, that's truly Californian. So Newsom said, I'm not advocating for that, for no building. or rebuilding that home that burnt down. How many times do you have to be lied to by people? How many times has Gavin Newsom broken promises already as your governor? Do you think he's going to keep that promise? Scale of recent fires influencing Californians, how they think about property and these fires. And well, they wake up, they go outside, they can't breathe, and there's ash on their car. So it's not just those in the fire areas that get affected. A recent Cal Fire report said 1 in 4 Californians live in areas considered at high risk for wildfires. 1 in 4? That means eventually a whole lot of people will have their insurance canceled, or it will skyrocket even more after these fires, including suburban Southern California and the Bay Area. Well, we all know about Agenda 2030, moving people, shuffling them around, getting them into the mega regions, into those apartments where they don't have to drive, get rid of the car. That's where all of this is going. The government should consider stopping home building in threatened communities because of the substantial loss of property and lives. Well, it's a huge state where you actually, there's a lot of areas that they're talking about not building. Look at November 29, significant wildland fire potential outlook. Whoa. You've got an awful lot in California that is in the red for potential fires for November. But no other state does. Isn't that interesting? No other state but California. So if it's climate change, and there are other states that are in drought, that have dry conditions, and that have wind, but those devastating fires are not breaking out like they do in California. So something else is going on. Now, I'm going to end this video reading 2 paragraphs right here. I will link below to everything, but maybe some of you can guess who said this. I would mention a problem which I know has greatly concerned many of you. That is our responsibility to control the effects of our own scientific experimentation. For as science investigates the natural environment, it also modifies it. And that modification may have incalculable, wow, some words I just can't say, consequences for evil as well as for good. In the past, the problem of conservation has been mainly the problem of inadvertent destruction of natural resources. But science today has the power for the first time in history to undertake experiments with premeditation which can irreversibly alter our biological and physical environment on a global scale. I bet some of you know who said that. It was John F. Kennedy. Address to National Academy of Sciences, October 23rd, 1963, talking about weather modification. So, we have people who are so closed-minded that they will not even take a look at a video, do a little bit of research, read a document to find out that man is controlling weather. That means that more and more of California will be burned up. And more will be burned up in other areas, and more will be flooded out of their homes, and more will suffer the consequences, the direct consequences of man controlling weather, as well as the indirect, the ripple effect. Insurance, home insurance, homeowners insurance going up, skyrocketing, permit fees, everything. Yeah, every aspect of your life being controlled by government officials based on a lie. Global warming, climate change. So what is this document? This is Ecological Effects of Weather Modification, a problem analysis. Yeah. And click on the link below, take a look at the table of contents. I will do a video on this. And I do want to thank my subscriber for sending this along. The abstract, this publication reviews the potential hazards to the environment of weather modification techniques as they eventually become capable of producing large-scale weather pattern modifications. Such weather modifications could result in ecological changes, which would generally require several years to be fully evident, including the alteration of plant and animal communities by shifts in reproduction rates, growth, and mortality of weather-sensitive species. The report includes sections on anticipated kinds of weather modifications, effects in semi-arid climates and in humid climates, pests and diseases, direct effects of seeding agents, biology of lakes and streams, fog, hail, lightning, and hurricane modification, environmental monitoring programs, inferences from ecological theory, recommended research, recommended pre-modification field surveys. Okay, when was this? This was back in 1969. U.S. Department of Interior. Ed Brown's father was the governor of California in '69, I believe. And weather modification was already taking place. I will link below to everything. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you have a great weekend.